A role reversal here in game number 1 of the day. Both teams steal each other's map picks as OG close it out on Inferno. They're taking us to a third as Alexi's men finally seal a victory over the Swedes in their choice of battlegrounds. Maui and Maniac are joining me to break it all down. A Maniac, an incredibly close one to be rounding out map number 2. We were talking about it before coming live, but this game really could have fallen either way.
Absolutely, it could not have been any closer. OG putting ahead 16-13, winning both pistol rounds, converting the force buy, so having that 6-0 lead in theory, and barely managed to pull through at the very end. Still, I'm going to give them some credits. First of all, I think on their CT side, they did adapt to Fnatic. They were better at reading them. Some of these late positions, I'm talking about NBK and Issa on the A-bomb side, but they stuck to their guns, even though they were in the dark. Good read on that. Also, winning 8 rounds, it might sound weird to say that, but 8 rounds on the CT side versus Fnatic, that is a good result, even though the map is, favored for the CT side.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on something I noticed on the CT side there, with Valda actually making a few little aggressive plays down towards middle Maui. It seemed like it was kind of catching Fnatic off guard when they were going towards that B site, and they were just on that incredible terraform.
Yeah, definitely. Issa and Valde both were doing really good rifle work on the CT side, keeping their team in that one. But I gotta mention that Alexi B's game plan on the T side was actually really strong. The fact that they played 14 rounds on that T side there, and they got the bomb down 13 times. And Fnatic, they're a team that's great under pressure, but when you put that much pressure on them, eventually they are going to break. They can't win every single retake every single time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm wondering whether you would agree with me here, Maniac. We were talking about this individual skill that was coming out of Fnatic being so instrumental in that first map of Mirage. Then we see Flusher trying to pull out some cheeky knife kills here. Do you think maybe there was a bit of complacency in that side of Fnatic when we saw them taking some jewels that, I don't know, that knife kill, he could have got it, but it didn't end up getting it in the end?
Well, weirdly enough, I don't think that's complacency coming out of Fnatic. I just think that is Fnatic. And it's been part of their charm as well. Their ability to, take it easy and relax in these games and see a knife being pulled out when the scoreline is so tight. But yet, it was a game of details. I know that it could have gone either way. It's one of these sentences that I try not to use on the desk, but this one right here, JW, round number 28, when he sees the shadow, or rather not see the shadow, but we saw it in the green room. Everyone is shouting like, he saw the shadow, for just a millisecond before he turns around. That round could have been key turnaround, and Fnatic would probably close it. So I just want to give some credits to OG. I feel like in these last few seconds, they did show composure where they had issues in the past and they were a little bit nervous closing these rounds. They stayed calm, stayed focused. They roamed these last 10 seconds and they made the right decisions, and they deserved the right to fight on Overpass.
Yeah, we've talked about that historically for OG, their sort of lack of ability to be closing things out really, really cleanly. But of course, that leaves us going to map number 3. Maui, it's going to be Overpass. And this is an interesting one because we haven't actually seen these two teams play each other on this map yet.
No, we haven't. In fact, it's a map that neither of them really played too much in the past few months. As we can see here, just 2 games for both of these teams. And OG, they won both of those games, and it was against some pretty stiff competition, FaZe and Na'Vi, actually. But Fnatic, their games didn't look bad either. They lost both of their games against Vitality and Heroic, but they were close affairs at that. They took Vitality to overtime, and against Heroic, they were able to accomplish 11 rounds. And for a map they don't play very much, that is pretty impressive. So I'm not exactly sure what to expect from either of these teams, but I will say that during the summer when OG was playing Overpass just a little bit more, it looked like they had kind of what we call, I guess in the green room, the heroic, where it felt like they really needed to just find some kind of advantage on the CT side every single time, and they could never just sit back and really just play a standard default. So I hope that doesn't come back to bite them, because we saw on Mirage that when they started trying to force the issue on that CT side, Fnatic was there waiting for them.
Well, it's been getting dicey here on the A stream, but also we can check in with the B stream action that's going down right now. We saw it go to Vertigo as a second map, G2 actually managing to seal that 16-11. Now we're on Inferno, gentlemen. So Maniac, both of these series, they're going the full distance.
They are, and I am surprised to see G2 coming up with that level. We've said they are not in the best of shapes right now, and now they're fighting on Inferno. A lot of pressure on their T side, though. I know that on the CT side, they've been having issues, troubles left and right, figuring out their game plan. So score is 6-2, but if we go down memory lane, they were also in a very good position on Vertigo, and they had Overpass, was it? Yeah, Overpass, and they dropped the ball to Heroic. So let's not rejoice too fast. I'm going to take it easy. It's only 6-2.
Well, of course, we've got to focus on the action here on the A stream. OG managed to take Inferno their way, and it's Overpass coming up next to round out this series.
Overpass will be our final destination, and for many it may be a bit of a surprise considering it hasn't featured the last 2 times these teams have played one another, but that's where we're headed, Tom, and the teams have actually traded each other's map picks.
Well, that was sort of the interesting thing, right? So, obviously being in Ukraine, I've got a few Ukrainian friends. Now, Vladislava has taken on the job of actually sitting behind the players, well, theoretically being online. And she sent me a message going, do you want to hear the map, Paul? And me being the cocky ass that I am, I went, oh, what? You mean Mirage, Inferno, and Train? And she went, no. And I went, huh? What? And so they switched it up. They changed the map pool. They got rid of one of the maps that didn't go so well for them last time. And they've taken us to Overpass, which I don't know if I'd call it a middle ground. I'd just call it a ground. We don't really know where this is going. This is one where both teams haven't really picked into it too often. It makes sense that it's ended as a 3rd map and not a choice for either side. Now, in terms of results, you are going to slightly put this over to OG, but I feel like you could do that with all the maps in this series. If you're looking purely at results, statistics, maybe not Inferno, I guess, but that's the one they took. So at this point, well, basically what we're trying to say is it's anyone's game.
Which is certainly the mentality that we've had throughout. Both times the teams have faced off against each other, but the first blood will be drawn by Brolan, and the Swedes look to steamroll ahead. They've completely ignored Mantu's position, but he only gets one and leaves Valda in an awkward spot, and he's cartwheeled into his death. Issa drawing around the back of them, but Crims holds on for his 3rd of the round and puts all the pressure on Alexi. He is on the right side of the map, should they continue this push over onto A. But with 1 minute and 15 left, Fnatic can easily change their minds. It doesn't look like they will, though, Tom. And Alexi may have just been his own worst enemy. He's moved to B.
Your brain is so big that you confuse yourself. It's not an issue that I have very often. But the T's, I think they're going to be quite happy with this. He has managed to big brain his way back over to the A site just in time for them to start sneaking in. The first kill comes for free. The next 2 might be a little bit tougher. Flusher, let's just big balls play. He's just going to plant the bomb right in front of his opponent. No fear of a push with his teammate right by his side. Golden, he's been playing Deagles a lot. That might come back to bite him. It's not a weapon known for its close range battles, but he hits the headshot right at the end. It's Fnatic to take themselves the pistol just about, and a damn good try from Alexi B, but unfortunately, it's not going to be enough this time.
Well, that's a huge NT for Alexi, but unfortunately, it doesn't really matter. So close, yet so far, as is often the case in Counter-Strike. Full assault rifles with 1 lowly MAC-10. Meanwhile, OG go for 3 MP9s. And they do go aggressive into connector again with 2 of those SMGs. Mantu and Issa sat in position, grenade up and over. Actually affects neither of them. I think it bounced too far up the stairs. The detonation blast does nothing. And OG can walk through undeterred. Crims up. May get tested momentarily by Mantu, but OG doing a good job of getting map control, having a bit of presence. And as a result, they can factor out accordingly. Brolan's been tagged. This is a pretty solid start for OG, all things considered.
It's almost a bit of a weird one, though, because they've gained a lot of control. They've gained information as to where the players are not. But even with all the positions that they pushed, they're still yet to really find out much about what Fnatic are doing. It's been a very passive start. Now, the reason for that is the weaponry that's been purchased. You got 1 MAC-10, the rest is all rifles. So your money-making scheme is staying alive. That's it. The kill bonus really isn't worth its weight in comparison to the weapon. And in reality, they were kind of expecting maybe someone to go aggressive. A scout, very common when it comes to second round buys, maybe expecting a peek. Instead, they've been met with nothing up until the 30-second timer hits. And now, oh, this is where the CT side come back in force. Golden doing a good job to at least stop the leakage. But at the same time, there's still 3 players remaining for OG.
Yeah, they plugged in the holes, but more bullets being put down creates more issues to contend with. Fnatic have Flusher and Golden, but they're both tagged. Flusher's position now known. Golden's untenable. OG unsure as to what's up against them. Still checking all their angles. Now they go in together. Neither of the two have kits. So they know that time is of the essence, and they must push in. Mantu with another one. No kit, no chance. Even if he were able to capitalize onto Flusher, the round is still going the way of Fnatic. It's a really nice effort from OG, but ultimately, it's a bridge too far. Oh, he survives on 1 HP. That's so fortunate.
Yeah, Flusher almost did enough to get the bomb to kill him. Like, he spammed him just a little bit through the wood, knew exactly what he'd be attempting. Close. Not quite enough. Now, there is a world where OG take a ridiculously risky force and try and pull this one over the line. I think if they're on the T side, Vince, they probably do. But unfortunately, the CT economy, it's not so kind. So they're going to allow Mantu to farm up some extra cash. I think his AWP is going to play a much bigger part in this map than maybe it did in the last. This time, though, Golden is on an absolute tear. Dominating on the scoreboard. Of course, it is early days, but we have seen him have some pretty solid performances throughout this tournament so far. I think it was always the issue when he was sort of removed from this roster is I guess he was easy to blame. Like when you're fragging out and then you have your in-game leader right at the bottom, you didn't necessarily want to follow the guy who came up from Fnatic Academy. You can kind of understand that to an extent. Like, well, why is this guy telling me what to do? He literally played for the Academy team. But I do have to say, I love this Fnatic roster since his calls have, well, basically become gospel. Like, since they've started to listen to someone who's clearly one of the standout leaders within the scene, Fnatic have a different sort of level to what we had seen before.
Yeah, and it's been a bit tentative. It's almost been like a soap opera at times with the Fnatic team. Will they, won't they stick with Golden? They've decided for a while, of course, to get back underway with him, and yeah, you can't really scapegoat him any longer, Tom. The fact of the matter is, the last wee while, he's actually been one of their top fraggers. He's been one of their top performers. So you can't even look at him and be like, you know, he's always going to bottom frag. The fact is, he's on 6 kills right now. Mirage yesterday, absolute monster. Or the day before, pardon me, absolute monster. And then you start to move into the rest of the team and asking if they're going to step up. So far, they've not been called upon. But OG, with rifles, will at least test them, and the early tests have been passed, but it's at the cost of health. Flusher and Krins coming out worse for wear. OG still all intact. Bomb dropped back at T-Spawn, but they've lost the first player. Mantu shows his hand with the AWP as he goes aggressively up a long, shutting down Brolan in the process.
Is almost a sleeper map for AWPs. JW, though, that's an impactful trade. He's going to catch MBK as well. This man was the lurker. He was selling a bit of a ruse on the other side of the map. He's found 2 kills. The bomb yet to rotate, but JW, he's not let go of W. Sure, maybe he's holding shift along the way. Slow himself down a little bit. There is still a player that he has to deal with in the form of Alexi B. Sat on the corner, he's been spotted. They now know that there is a man here, and JW, he's looking to try and do this all on his own. Carry his team through. He's found an AWP. That's not what they would have wanted to give him for free. And Alexi B, in fact, might even just have to fall back here. The rest of the force are running in. Flusher goes up with the MP9. If anything, that might be his weapon of choice at this point. And from what was such a strong position, JW's play, alongside a little bit of Flusher and Fnatic, they've got this. I think the round's done. Look at where Issa is. He's off.
Yeah, 15 HP in with an AK. Can't really justify going in for this retake. And like, you just imagine JW piecing out to long, knowing that Flusher was running in with the SMG with a wry smile on his face. It's like, I might not be on the scoreboard, but we all know that I got him that kill from just stalling and being a real pain in the ass. So Fnatic off to a hot start, 4-0 already. And OG, it's not as if a ton of these rounds have been super close. JW's 2 entries in bathrooms were so vital. Economy's in a weird position where they could go for a buy, but that shot from JW is so brisk. That is a blinder of an AK frag.
Again, it's the way he started Inferno as well, though. Like, there were just kills that were coming up from him on the T side where he was just pushing through smokes and just, wow, being irritating. I'm at a loss for words for a word that I can use that's actually allowed on this stream. Well, they've also handed Brolin what I would consider his weapon of choice. He loves a little bit of scope. Him and Kirby are definitely leading the way of keeping this gun in fashion. It's one that completely fell off the face of the earth after the initial nerfs, but creeping its way in, it's a bit of a niche. I think that's how it should be. ET side, though, they do still have a couple of players with guns in this round, and it is Issa and Valde. They're 2 players I think you can rely on in these sort of situations to have those rounds that can drag you through. So Fnatic still have to be careful here.
They do, but what I'd say about Fnatic, they've done very well on most of their T sides today, is it's been controlled aggression. They haven't completely unleashed themselves. They move into position, they check the probabilities, and they decide to push off the back of that. But time's starting to dwindle a little bit. Lexi, ooh, that looked like it could have been a headshot. Very fortunate Crims not to go down. It may have been Golden that was actually tagged just behind him. But Issa holding the line. There's man 2. They've lost Issa, and with him the weapon. Brolan tagged to 17, but still standing, and standing long enough to use that AUG against the CTs. And we know that Brolan loves to pick up these guns. So that's not even a downgrade as far as he's concerned. He's in his element. NBK, starved of any opportunities, has to back off with the M4. It's familiar territory, Tom. Watching OG tuck their tail between their legs and try and run off to salvage a weapon. The Fnatic are in pristine form on this T side.
Yeah, I feel like, again, the comparison that people make to Fnatic being that like classic villain, but it's almost like they're always in that sort of midway through the film stage, where, you know, like you get that initial battle between the bad guy and the good guy, and the good guy is gonna lose, but it'll be close, like, or either that or they'll get absolutely battered, as we're seeing here, and then they'll come back and beat them at the end. Unfortunately, OG are gonna have to start coming back a little bit sooner, because that round, for example, it looked like it had potential. Like, there was the moment where Issa gets the kill, Mantu as well, and then Brolin, it just shut them out. Just the door gets closed in their face. He shows a level that they don't quite have just yet. And unfortunately for OG, that means in a lot of these early starts, these streaks of rounds come out from Fnatic, and it starts to make you worry, because this is not a map where I expect to see dominant T-sides, especially not like this. They do have a 4-man stack though, Vince. They've got a good read.
They do have a good read, but can they execute on that read? Because so far, they've been well and truly behind in every single metric. Dueling, strategically, utility, it's all been falling a bit flat. And because Fnatic pressured this early on, they have the decision-making process to back away. They've given up a lot of map control. They are keeping Golden in the pit to keep them interested, and if he can get some kills, maybe they'll execute off that. There's one. It's keeping the CTs interested over here. He's doing so much work for his team, also dodging grenades, staying alive for so long, but now that he's fallen down, the CTs realize that they have been sold a fake. What do they do about that, though? Fnatic making moves up on long. They have to contend with Alexi and NBK, but they don't have any nades to hold this off. Only a HE for NBK, and pardon me, actually, Alexi does have a little bit of utility. He's got an incendiary, a smoke, and a flashbang. 25 seconds to go. NBK tossing in the grenade. Oh, that chunks and chips away Flusher and Brolan. They're both going to be struggling, limping in, but be careful because Flusher still comes out with a massive headshot. Alexi perches up 2 before he's dropped, and with 15 seconds, Valde takes the initiative, pushing through the Molotov. JW know he's being flanked. 10 seconds to play with. He guesses wrong where one of the remaining 2 CTs are, and then plants behind the truck. He's still alive. safe. He can also escape. He submerges back into the shadows of Dumpster, using that smoke as a bit of sanctuary. And JW playing the mind games with the CTs. He's also baited off long enough that they think it could conceivably be on the bank play. But he's still on the Dumpster, and he's looking to put the CTs in there. He's taken his shot, gives his position away, relocates again. In amongst all of this, the bomb has been ticking away, and JW connecting onto Valda, playing the mind games once again. Man2 sticks on the side. JW coming up, making noise, has played this perfectly. Is there enough time? This is cutting it so incredibly close, but Man2 gets it. So nice try from JW, but ultimately OG up to the task.
I thought he had it. Like, I genuinely thought he had it. I think the only way that could have been any more JW is if he no-scoped Man2 at the end. But Man2, thankfully, I think for OG's sanity, is going to be able to put a round on the board. The only problem I have, Vince, is that started off in a way that it looked like it could be clean, or at least cleaner. And the problem is now they've won a round back, so that's great. That's going to reduce their loss bonus by a little bit. They've made no real money because the only weapon saved is the AWP. And they're still under supreme amounts of pressure because the bomb going down only added to the economy that's there. That is wonderful, though, from Alexibi. Initial 2 picks go their way, and now Fnatic once again are in a situation where they have to fight back.
Must be a bit of pill to swallow, additionally, if they were to concede this, knowing that OG's economy is tipping on the balance. JW, even though he didn't win the last round, which would have been pretty ridiculous, he did cull enough players that they would be into real trouble if they lose this. Just 1 player left. And now it's down to NBK, who's holding the line alongside Alexi again. With Fnatic making moves up on the bathroom, they have plenty of grenades between the 3 of them. 2 smokes, 3 Molotovs. Now starting to throw in the smokes. MBK will be called upon. Orc-wielding JW down on long. Alexi, same position as last time, and it's the 2 CTs that dip in first. And Brolan, his only mission is damage. Golden unleashing him, unleashing the youngster, but he runs into the incoming traffic of Valdes M4, and Fnatic have lost 2 in a row.
I like the idea that his mission is damage. He just opens up like a mission report, just says damage, and he's looking around like, what? Is that? Oh, okay. 9-7. It's definitely hotting up on Inferno between the 2 teams. Currently on the B stream, of course. That is going along side by side. I know that there's like the sort of like combination thing you can do on Twitch where you can watch both. Of course, you want our voices playing. No bias from me. But, nonetheless, this is starting to become exciting for OG. We've seen these sort of rounds from Fnatic where they just use brute force to get them through. But I'm liking this from OG. A little bit more aggression, taking the fight to the Swedes, and they're winning every duel that comes their way. Got a point of damage taken. Now Golden and Flusher. Been in this situation many times before. Don't think this one's even close to possible. And look how aggressive the CTs are being. They are not giving Fnatic a moment's rest. They are forcing the issue. And sure, this is a way that you could, in theory, be punished. But they've boxed them in. They're completely trapped. They put Fnatic in a cage.
They will not escape that prison. They go down. And yeah, this is the reason why I think Overpass is absolutely a top-tier map. Because it affords the CTs the luxury of going for plays like that. Then they're never always feeling claustrophobic or on the back foot. Like, you can actually take the fight to the T's, take control of the connector. The only player not to hit triple-figure utility damage on Inferno, he had 99. That's pretty impressive, although I suppose that facilitates like Inferno as a map. There's so many key choke points where HEs and Incendiary is going to be tossed in, do a ton of damage. But still, everybody chipping in on both sides. It will be an eco, though, getting back to the here and now in round 9. Fnatic cannot afford to go for a full buy, so maybe some Deagles and not much else. And maybe they can at least make this sting on OG, but it's still that man that we highlighted before. It's Golden that is leading the charge in more ways than one. Top fragging for his team. It's not like anyone is really lagging behind on either squad, actually. Everyone is getting kills, and everyone in amongst it, which is always good news.
Well, see if they can do any real damage in this round. That's the thing, like OG, these last few have been very, very clean. I think that's what we have to take into consideration. Like you look back to Inferno when Fnatic were on that T side and they were able to make every single round close. Never really allowing OG to have this backboard, but the fact is they could even lose this round and they would have a flawless buy into the next. They definitely wouldn't have the 3 AKs, obviously, but other than that, it would be absolutely flawless. So Fnatic are going to have a real job now to break this CT side economy, and that's where things get a lot tougher. Like the cheeky plays you might witness going into the B site are never going to be as effective when there's Molotovs and HEs and smokes on the other side. And also this man having an AWP has made a terrific difference. And I mentioned him at the beginning of the map. He has to go big. He has to perform. Sure, he got wrecked by JW in one of the early rounds, but since then, he's come back swinging.
He's been cultivating plenty of carnage. Oh, and speaking of which, that HE flush on Brolan. Also tagging a couple more players with 23 seconds. Fnatic looking to try and steamroll over the site. They've got 2-1 deeks. Hold on a second. We were talking like this round was over. It's back open again for a bit of debate. And albeit on a weakened Fnatic that should get finished off, but should means nothing when there's Deagles and Swedes still alive. But there's not many left standing now. And Crim's going for the M4, bit of an off angle, will get the drop on Valda, but the aim punch hurts him too badly. OG, after going 5-0 down to the hands of Fnatic, have now won the last 4.
And they're winning them more cleanly as well. Like they're sure this one was maybe a bit of a question mark, like a few players dying here and there, but ultimately they're in a much better position. These will have a purchase of their own, and in fact they've actually built up some economy off the bomb plants they've been getting, so they'll even have a buy off the loss bonus into the next round anyway. In fact, it may even allow for JW to pick up an AWP if he wanted it, although with the way that he's been running around with the AK, I don't really think it's needed. The streak though from OG has been more than impressive. Not again. Not again. It happened too many times in the last map. I feel like there should be a quota for how many times you're allowed to get a kill through this. He knows he's there. He 100% knows he's on the other side. JW just biding his time. But he might have missed the window. The push behind Alexi B hunting down his prey. But Alexi's got around the corner. It's like he's got eyes in the back of his head. Now he has the chance for 2, though. The freebie comes up onto Alexi B. We were expecting it. It seemed inevitable, but I had a small bit of hope. It almost reminds me of like one of those nature documentaries where you're hoping for the little guy to escape as the big bad predator hunts.
No happy ending this time though, Tom. He went down and he's gone in for another. He's pounced. His bloodlust wasn't satiated. His hunger is still there. And he chomps and bites the rest of the CTs into submission. Goes in for the jugular. Valda will try and save with MBK. They have plenty of money, but skipping out on the chance of an AK in a 2v4 post plant is too good to miss. And to be honest, they may not escape because Flusher, he also has the instinctual awareness to know that they could be coming up here. It was so well played from JW as well. Like a lot of people just write him off as just a smoke pushing, random, like mad guy. But he actually waited in the smoke for the molly, knowing that Alexi would assume that was clear with the molly behind it, and then made the most of it. And nearly got 2 kills right off the bat of that. That's an awkward nade. Obviously, this round is over. It's just whether Valda can survive. Speaking of smoke pushes, are we about to see another one here? No, they hold off. So very well played from JW, who goes in for a 3K, and that's always the threat that he poses. OG, after winning 4, have now been silenced again, and here is that entry. Also forced back Mansu, who missed his chance and he was punished, and there's the 3rd. So well played.
Here we have the wild JW. He hunts for pleasure rather than substance.
Mainly feeding on OG.
Yeah, mainly. Well, I don't know. I feel like if anything, OG in that round seemed to be feeding him. But let's move away from that. He's dead this round. They managed to kill him off. Finally, they found his Predator seems to be Issa, and MBK is already going to kill off Crims. Somehow, from what was a fantastic round from Fnatic, it almost seems like a blip on the radar. Instantly, OG responded. That's the thing. I feel like they are playing this CT side relatively aggressive. Like, sure, the T's in some of these rounds are fighting them tooth and nail, but they've been more than happy to take away map control. And it's almost turned into sort of a match of DM. Like, who has the quickest headshots? Who's winning the spray downs? Because let's be real, Vince. Like, have there been many situations for trade kills? Like, even just look at the positioning of different players dying. Sure, the Connector's one of them. Oh, for God's sake.
He finally got his knife. He was flirting with the idea last map. He's been put down. Justice has been served. But he finally got it, Tom, you know? He'll be happy with that.
It's just funny as well that MBK is probably just sat there on the other side, just like, Issa, what's being watched? Like, have you let that? Have you let him hear? Oh, that's extra money at least. As said, they had enough anyway if they wanted to invest into an AWP, but it doesn't really seem to be part of their gameplay. Crims, though, this is lightning fast, and Alexi B with the spam. That's twice now. The two different variants of M4 as well. And well, the sheer pace of Fnatic is not going to be enough to counter. And it's something I mentioned earlier that you can see once utility builds up for the CT side, these fast, aggressive plays stop being as successful. It looked like he had an opportunity, though, and I love this from OG. They're constantly reclaiming ground. They're constantly challenging Fnatic for map control. They're not just sitting down and allowing the Swedes to execute onto either site. They've got to be constantly wary of these pushes, and it's almost like they're giving them a taste of their own medicine.
That's certainly how it feels. And Fnatic, they don't like how bitter this medicine is. They want to try and spit it out and get back into the face of OG, and that's what Flusher goes in for. Brolan also chipping in with an entry, but Mantu silencing him. Hasn't dropped the bomb. So Brolan will at least get a bomb plant. Doesn't have any grenades to escape with. He'd like to have a smoke or a flash. Mitigating that flashbang tossed in. Tries to go for the headshot. Does tag Mantu, but just wings him instead. So OG back into even a fair. And considering, Tom, that 5 of these 6 rounds on Fnatic were basically off the back of the pistol. They won 1 rifle round and reset the economy of OG. When it's come to these consistent rifle rounds, OG have been a level above them. It makes you think if they'd won the pistol, this could be a landslide score in favor of OG.
I feel like we've seen this match before, though. It's like when we watched them play versus Mouse Sports on Nuke. It's like the score line was technically close, but a lot of the rounds really weren't. Like it was said even in the interview by Mantu, is like, if we get rid of a few sloppy mistakes, we win that map 16-6. And there's not many times where I hear players say that, and I agree, but this was definitely one of them. He's feeling confident. 12-6. This map has always been known as an AWP's paradise. Like, traditionally, you'd think of a Dust 2 and a Train, but, well, when I think of players like Woxic, for example, this is the first map that comes to mind, and Mantu is embodying that skill. These, though, they're going to go on a complete reposition. Now, these long rotations haven't really been catching off their opponents too much, and with MBK, he's in an aggressive spot. Now, I consider this a one and done, unless he has an AWP posted up on the long-range angle. The thing is, though, he acts as an early warning system. They're going to peek it. Well, I was going to say together. JW may be a little bit late to the party, but that's fine. They lose technically a pistol as the rifle is retrieved. But Alexi B has said that warning system goes off, and he rotates instantly.
I love the positions, though, of Fnatic, making sure that any quick rotation gets stopped instantly by Flush's AK. But they're not going to pivot behind that. They still go into the A site, and Alexi getting one, also dinking Golden. Both the T's are exceptionally low, but Golden still straight away with a headshot. Crisp delivery, surgically removing and striking away, leaving it down to Mantu. has the right idea with the USP. Not entirely sure, because keep in mind that Flusher killed his teammate in Connector, so for all he knows, Flusher could be rotating all the way round the back. It's all about that second player. And Mantu's been tagged again. Both players very low. Next bullet finishes this round. The positioning in favor of Flusher. Mantu tapping the bomb, checking long. Does Flusher spring into action? No. He assumes this is a fake and absolutely correct in doing so. Mantu closing his angle, but there is Flusher. Headshot, decapitating Mantu. Big round for Fnatic.
As if this game wasn't close enough, the other is just as close in return. One round separates both teams. The thing that's crazy as well is this match has been incredible. Like, I've thoroughly enjoyed both series we've seen between these two teams. We're not even in playoffs yet, Vince. I feel like this is like a semi-final. Like, both of these teams go through. They're playing their hearts out. I think there is a level of pride on the line. Both teams in interviews have basically gone, well, Mantu goes, yeah, we'll beat them. And then Golden even said, like, we think that we're just better players than them. So I love the trash talk, or the slight trash talk. But in this sort of case, there's a little bit more than just the upper and lower bracket on the line. Like, neither team wants to go into that lower bracket, but at the same time, they still expect, if they do, that they'll get through.
Yeah, Golden almost just writing them off as even an equal. Like, not even saying it's a rivalry. Just like they're not even on our level. Now, I'd say that these results have certainly disputed that pretty heavily, Tom. We'll see if Fnatic can prove themselves correct. As they push through, Valda gets flagged, actually runs into the Molotov, surviving on 2 HP, and what a difference that could make. He does then get the kill and drops the bomb down. One more tick of the Molotov, and this horribly goes wrong for OG, but as it stands, they forced out a little bit more maneuverability. Alexi round the corner, finishing off a weakened JW. By the slimmest of margins, by the skin of their teeth, OG 2v4. It is still a winnable round, though, for Flusher and Golden to pick off. We've seen them land these before. Flusher getting himself 2 and a third out of nowhere. How is Flusher still in this round? And keep in mind the XP favoring Alexi, who may be able to get the frag. This has been flawless. Oh my God! That is sublime from Flusher. And finally, we see a smile on the face of the god.
There was a stat that came up earlier. It was 1v4s, right? He's just added another one. I think he was in front of JW by a couple. Can we get that stat back up again with this one added to the list? That's utterly ridiculous. And, well, if you're making Flusher smile, you know that that's a play that's going to be, well, retweeted into oblivion later in the day. The social media teams are all priming that one as ready as possible. In the meantime, OG are trying to bounce back once again. That is an unbelievable play from Flusher. He's been doing that for, well, longer than most people have even been watching Counter-Strike. Set his team up for what is a convincing T-side half, and it's been anything but convincing. That's the terrifying thing. There's certain rounds in Counter-Strike where you criticize the CT side, you say that they shouldn't be letting that one slip, and well, in this case, it's true, but at the same time, that was unreal from Flusher. It's unstoppable. This round, it's possible for OG. Wouldn't say likely, but then again, in this game, in this match, who am I to say what's possible at this point?
It will feel like theft as well, though, Tom. If Fnatic come out of this 9-6. You know, motivationally, inspirationally, you look at that play from Flusher, and that's what's going to be remembered of this half. But within the context and the confines of this game, OG should have easily had 8 or 9 rounds. Like, pretty comfortably in the end. It's unbelievable that Fnatic are in a position to potentially take 9. They may get countered, they may get denied, though. It is a 3-on-2 in their favor, but time is low. The problem, though, for OG is neither of their 2 remaining players are on B, so they cannot deny the bomb plant. That much is certain. Last round of the half, of course, they go for it with an AK, and the CZ in the hands of Issa. AK on Alexi, 39 HP, no kits between the two of them, but they do have a couple flashes and a smoke. Broland, big kill onto Alexi, and it feels like that should be all she wrote for this half. Fnatic looking good for a 9-6 lead, and Issa trying to take a leaf away from Flusher's crazy clutch in the previous round. But man, Tom, it will fall on deaf ears. Fnatic get it done, 9-6. We'll see if they can convert, but first, a short break. Well, I hope you took that time to get some popcorn and catch your breath, because that ended just about as good as any half of Counter-Strike has. Flusher with a ridiculous 1v3 or 1v4 clutch, and now Fnatic 9-6 in the lead. But as we said, Tom, a bit of theft, really. It could have been so much closer, and we'll have to see if OG can bounce back instantly. They have to contend with JW, but he's all alone. He's got information for his teammates, but he can't get any kills alongside it. And this information has a sell-by date. With this much time left and connector control still open, it doesn't really mean a great deal on the side of Fnatic.
It's not quite the same as your classic matchmaking game of the 4B, 1A, you spot them A, and that means it's A. Although, if anything, Fnatic are playing this in the same way most people at home would. They've rotated everybody onto the A site, and in fact, it is going to be an all-out brawl. Brolin, he's got his bare knuckles out, and he's brawling himself. 3 kills, all headshots, and now only 2 remain. But Flusher is on 1 HP. Now, that's enough, obviously. That wouldn't be the craziest thing he's done today. Nade's gonna dunk out Man2. Now Issa. We saw him 1v3 ridiculous fashion on Dust 2 in a pistol round. If anything, he should have more of a chance. The headshots needed, but they're sticking the bomb. They're just defusing it in front of him. They have no fear of Issa in this situation. Fnatic, they take their 10th and push themselves ever further into the lead.
That's an unbelievable 3K from Brolin. Like, up until that point, OG are the firm favorites. JW's just died. The entire T's are bearing down on the site, and then Brolan stands his ground. 3 insta headshots. Simple and as easy as you like. You'd think it was a matchmaking game and how simple he pulled that off. And now OG, aggression towards B. They do go in for a buy. MP7, couple MAC-10s, and a Galil. So still plenty of firepower. But Fnatic have themselves 3 players over here on B site. And they won't be waiting around, OG. They turn up the pace. They kick it up a notch. Crim's getting one, but he is shut down instantly afterwards before Golden goes in for another one. Runs out of ammunition. And now JW. Oh, all the kills. In the blink of an eye, just go the way of OG.
Roland, he does manage one. Every player left is low, but it's manages to close this one out. It's short-lived for Fnatic, and while... You know what, Vince, at this point, I'm not even surprised. Like, there's no one allowed to take a hefty lead. I think the most we've seen is the 5-0 start that was at the beginning of this map, and that really didn't last long at all. Now for the CT side, they're going to have a force buy of their own, or at least to an extent. It seems like JW's getting ready for that trusty AWP to come into play. This round, though, it's the Zeus.
The classic.
Surely if he gets one, we've seen everything, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
We need some shotgun kills.
A part of me just wants to see the world burn, so I kind of want to see him use that Zeus effectively, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, does it?
I'm a bit sick. I want it to be MBK that gets hit as well after him getting knifed earlier. Oh, dear. Ooh, he actually gets dinked. It may not be the Zeus, but it's still damage. Take the USP as a memento. The time that JW came close. This B side, though, it's relatively open, although the CT side have got an inkling, and I've actually rotated players into position. Flusher with the Deeg is getting tagged away, and Brolan, he needs to hit some tasty scout shots, but he doesn't last long. OG have done a fantastic job in this anti-eco, and oh, they might not even get a kill over on... Never mind.
Consolation, though, come the end of this round, OG have already taken a stranglehold over the site, and Crimson Golden, both around the 20 HP mark, look to save their weaponry. They do have 2 Deagles, so they can drop one of those across to one of their teammates. The way Flusher's playing, maybe give it to him, guys. Just saying. But OG now breathing back down the necks of their Swedish counterparts again. First 2 maps, we had moments of brilliance. We had moments of crazy clutches and just madness. But I feel like this has been the closest map in terms of the scoreline and kind of the ebb and flow of this game as well. Tom, like a 5-0 start into OG, kind of taking control. Bit of thievery towards the end of Fnatic, and now OG waking back up again. It puts this in such an intense moment for the rest of the game. I mean, the first map went 16-12, second map was 16-13. And there's no blowout inside here.
It's almost like sort of the second OG take a breath, they lose. Like that's almost how it feels. Like they're constantly like hunkered up, almost tensing the whole time. And then the second they go, oh, I can let loose, let the gut fall out for a bit. It's like, nope, Fnatic will be right back at you in a matter of seconds. And it's a tough test. Like it's something that OG obviously still being a roster with a lot to prove. They made it to a final in New York, looking finally for a trophy. If they take it in one that gives you both RMR and Pro Tour points, hey, that's a pretty big taking. But they have got a long, long road ahead of them. As said, this may feel like a semi-final, even a grand final. It is one that decides who goes through to the upper bracket from Group A and who goes to the lower bracket. Neither team eliminated, but they're fighting tooth and nail, and as if it is do or die. I have to say, I wouldn't have it any other way. I am loving this match.
Absolutely alongside you there, Tom, for the ride. Doesn't feel like this ride is stopping anytime soon. Golden stopping at the push. Dead in its tracks with his deagle. No second kill forthcoming. Now the scout needs to spring into action and activate it does. But it probably will be a one and done. Brolan does get flashed. Actually connects the shot onto Alexi, who will think twice of re-peeking him again. They don't need to re-peek. All of the emphasis now on Brolan to go back onto the site and get the defuse, so the T's can hide in position, wait for him to emerge, and then smack him back down again. Valda. Ooh, for a second, I thought that no-scope had connected, but it didn't. Valda's AK, though, will not miss. 10-9. And here comes another buy. In the other game, looks like G2 are just about to maybe pull this game off, unless Cadian can pull off a crazy clutch. And he goes down, so G2 get it done, 2-1.
Yeah, Heroic, like one of the recent champions and also currently rated as one of the top couple of teams in the world, are currently in the lower bracket. That was a pretty big deal. Maybe you don't want to go anywhere near that lower bracket if Heroic are one of the first teams to enter it. That's scary. Now we can focus on the match at hand. 10-9. This is our decider map. As said, the loser goes into that lower bracket. The winner gets an extra life. The flashbang is so solid from Alexi B. Golden was dead before he even knew what hit him. And this buy from Fnatic is not a particularly good one. Flusher on an SMG is almost a norm, so I guess that's not too much of a loss, and he'll go to the body of his teammate to retrieve a rifle. JW, he has his AWP, but it is still only glass cannon. Even with the money he saved from prior rounds, it wasn't enough. The T's, with already a bit of a bank, starting to build into this T side. We need to see another hero play from Fnatic, and Brolan, he's in a pretty good position to at least steal a frag. Does Alexi B check this properly? It's an angle that you almost have to peek in to clear. Everything's been hurt by Brolan. That's the first of many, as the rest of the squad are all waiting from Fnatic. JW, he's going to land the first while Blind Flusher's still here as well. And now Brolan has that pincer. He has that push through the smoke. He might not even be needed. Man 2, he hits a worldie, but his world comes crushing down. 11-9. Lead extended by Fnatic, but as mentioned, the T's, although not all of them have money to buy, there is enough to spread the wealth.
Another solid hold on Fnatic, and just in time, because their economy hanging by a thread, still just about in the clear. OG, in the meanwhile, have put their life savings into this. It's only MBK and Valda that have anything in terms of surplus cash, and OG making moves. A solid start in the second round, the second half, I should say, for Fnatic, but OG certainly have a few more plays up their sleeve. Crim's up close with the MP9, seeing nothing. The bulk of the T's moving into position through connector, and maybe joined momentarily from Issa, who's just making sure there's no wrap around the back of the CTs. They are making moves up long, but Brolan getting tagged down significantly will now be forced upon. Through the smoke they push, may not be expecting a second play. JW whips out the AWP, gets the no-scope, but that won't be good enough to salvage the half of long, and won't be good enough to keep the bomb. Now starts to get planted, fully plant down. OG in trouble. If they overpeak and overstay, they're welcome, but they have at least finalized onto Golden. So 2v4, 2 MP9s, the SMGs of Flusher and Crims. I doubt they really stick around for too long, and Crims playing with fire nearly gets burned through the smoke. It seems like Fnatic will pull the plug here, Tom, and having a look at their economy, as I said, it was hanging by a thread. Well, that thread's now just been cut short.
I think Flusher's plan is to try and save a gun. One of his teammates did go down in bank, and if he can wait for the bomb to explode, he should survive comfortably in this corner. There's at least an upgrade. A small saving grace for what was a round that they'll live to forget. It was a bit of an awkward hold, like the way they were trying to keep long. They needed basically every single player to push through the bathrooms for OG if they were going to stand a chance, and Hey, again, we're looking at this as over the last few rounds, OG have looked strong, the same as we saw on Inferno. They started building momentum, they started gaining confidence, finances started to step up as well. Now, looking like they're going to even things up. I'm going to say looking like, because I never feel confident in any of these anti-eco rounds anymore. They've done quite well with them over the last few rounds, to be fair, but Flushit has a gun and can sometimes just create pure BS, Vince.
Well, need we remind you of the first half? A play out of thin air. Came out of nowhere, that 1v4 clutch. Is a bit different now on the CT side, of course, a different ball game. The entire dynamic shifted on its head, but we know that he certainly is a player that is feeling it right now, as he did over pretty much the duration of this best of 3. Go back to Mirage, where both Flusher and JW were having the run of the litter and basically doing whatever the hell they wanted. 45 seconds, OG need to make sure they don't take too long on their approach, because this could play into the hands of some of these upgraded pistols. And indeed the M4. The boost is good for 1, tries to snap across again. Bit of damage to MBK. Brolan making the most of this momentary chaos to try and get the clarity of some headshots, to bring this back underway on Fnatic. Golden also slips and slides away, and Brolan nearly threading a headshot. Eventually goes down alongside Flusher. OG successful and a bit of overkill, just to make sure that Flusher didn't come back up again. After all, he was pretty much immortal in that first half.
That's what they say, double tap. Always shoot them again, just to make sure. Definitely wasn't a bit of BM, maybe a bit of frustration finally being expended, released. We are going to see a pause taken. This was something that, well, for years for Fnatic, it was considered a turning point in any match. I rate it. Well, it had to be said. We don't want our statistics to be looked back upon and be considered to be wrong. So there you go. Flusher now has 8 1v4s, courtesy of today. And unfortunately, JW remains on 5. So he's got to step up his game.
I feel very privileged to have been present for it as well, Tom. That is such a momentous moment on the side of Fnatic and potentially for this entire tournament. They see themselves get into the upper brackets. It's that 1-up, as we called it before. Those are the kind of plays that really prop up this potential win. Brolan, bit of an off angle, waiting for the T's to peak. Do they proceed with a flashbang or a Molotov? It's the molly. He's getting tagged up on the wooden panels. It's so brutal. It just climbs up there towards Brolan, a heat-seeking Molotov, and the Swede will fall without really any kind of a stand. And that's a pretty horrible start for Fnatic, considering we're at 11-11. They finally just got back in with a buy. It includes an MP9 and a FAMAS, and you've lost one of your heavy hitters right off the bat.
We'll say, Vince, a heat-seeking Molotov seems like a very flawed device. Something that seeks heat while also being hot. Feels like it just spin around in a circle, but in that case, clearly the technology was advanced enough to pay off. So, going to be pushed back for now. They've still got plenty of time to play with, and as we've seen, OG seemed to thrive in the last few seconds. For how many times they've pushed into a site late, changed their plans at the very last moment. We haven't actually seen a round where they've lost via time, which you have to give props to Alexi B, you have to give props to the team. JW, this is a cheeky angle, and well, he gets a kill through the smoke, also gets killed through the smoke. Retakes on A have been a no-show. It's not been successful at all for Fnatic.
What?
Crims just goes jumping through the smoke, and he's found 2. He's done damage onto Valde as well. He's waiting on the corner. This time he does damage in return, but it's left onto MBK. A man who's been around for many a year. The first is all too easy, but Crims taps the bomb, tries to bait him into the diffuser, but at this point MBK has to know he can't be on it. The second tap might just be the bait he needs, but he spots him standing. He's not diffusing. MBK is in Crims' head. Doesn't need to face this, and although the kill goes the way of Crims, and it's a good round from him. He will die to the bomb. No men standing at the end of round number 23. And into 24, the CT side are in a bit of an awkward spot again.
He was jumping as well. Oh, I didn't even realize. The jump round the corner from Bank and cashes out the kill with the MP9. But as you said, it's not as if that really means a great deal to OG. It's like, okay, cool, that's a bit of flair, some style points, but we still won the round and you're into basically pistols. And that's it. This is OG's prime opportunity to get themselves ahead and to convert this map and win the best of 3. Fnatic in real trouble. They're being taken into deep waters and potentially left to drown. They've got to clamber themselves back up and gasp for air. We said before about how every time that OG seemed to breathe out, they're getting constricted like a boa constrictor, just locking it in. Feels like the tables have certainly turned, and it's Fnatic that are now struggling to catch their breath.
I think that's the main credit I want to give to OG, is that they've had rounds which, well, in many cases, you should never lose. Never, ever, ever lose. But it doesn't seem to faze them. They managed to come back in these situations, and for a team, as said, we've not yet seen them win an event. They got to their first final recently. In terms of big matches, they're not necessarily the most experienced team, but like, losing a round like that would kill most rosters. They come back even stronger. They take it as an insult and then win the next few. This round, though, it's getting dicey once again. Fnatic, they're known for them, but MBK and Valde, they're going to rectify this situation before it gets dangerous. 13-11, crunch time coming for Fnatic. They fought tooth and nail in this series. They won their opponent's map choice, had their first ever loss to OG on Inferno, and then the surprise map, which I guess they were hoping was Train, now ended on Overpass, and OG on the T side are stringing rounds together after what was a very strong scoring half at least. We're going to see the push Mantu. He only had a matter of seconds to land that shot. He nails it.
Only a matter of seconds for Fnatic to quickly bolster up their defense, but OG take their sweet time. Disciplined, giving up short control, flush up, holding on, Crim spray through Monster, collecting onto 2. And even though they got the quad boost frag in the hands of Mantu, everything else has collapsed. The Jordanian Issa moving in, joined alongside Mantu. HE does nothing. Can these guys rip and tear through the CTs? No, Brolan could not have asked for a better lineup. And Fnatic instantly bounced back after losing the first player.
I think something else that makes this game so enjoyable is a lot of the times when you get matches like this, there's like a criminal underperformer. There's someone who you kind of look at them in this match and you go, oh, if they were just playing a little bit better. I can't name one. Like, I think the bottom fragger at the moment has 14, the top has 20, and that's Mantu. It's ridiculously close all across the board. Any member could step up. Just to put that into perspective, by the way, the bottom fragger is currently JW. And if you're going to go ahead and tell me that JW's had a bad match, I'm going to laugh in your face. Because I still remember all the way back to the beginning of this match where he managed to just insta-headshot Mantu, who was holding him with an AWP. Like, been one of those games where, well, even we as casters have to just take this round by round, let alone what the teams are doing, because everyone has been different.
Oh yeah, we just get to sit back and enjoy the show, Tom. These guys are in deep thought, concentration levels off the chart, knowing one mistake, one blunder could cost you it all. So intense. Eerie silence across the battlefield, only the sound of detonating flashes and now the pluming of smoke in the ears of the players. OG still not fully deciding. It does seem as if B site has a target painted on it, and they will look to execute sooner rather than later. Flusher, the angle, sees the barrel of the gun and makes the most of it. MBK sent packing, and now Crims alongside Golden need to stand tall. Molotov is good, onto short, stalling and segregating the oncoming T's. They go for the pre-fire, and Golden collects alongside Crims again, who gets his second. Mantu 1-on-3 with 15 seconds alongside him, no control of the bomb, and everything points to this being tied up one more time. Mantu now either save or pull back. But if pushing in, you die after time, it would have been brutal. Crims gets the 3K. Another 3K to him, and Fnatic pushing OG into a save.
I wonder if there was the decision there was just to try and keep the money even, because otherwise I don't really see a reason why Mantu goes pushing there. As you said, like, there's not a buy in the next round. I thought that maybe it's because Valde would save his money here and then they can buy that AWP back up anyway, but he doesn't save that money. He spent it, so the chance for an AWP is gone. Bit of a weird couple of decisions, but I'm just going to trust in the teams at this point. But Fnatic, again, like we talk about the streak of rounds, we talk about OG building momentum, and again, they have a breath. They get that opening pick a couple of rounds ago, and then Fnatic just awaken once more. Only some pistols, but any damage can make a huge difference over the next couple of rounds. Sure, Brolin and Crims have some extra cash, but the rest of the players rebuying is not really an option. Or at least not cleanly, not with all the utility, and definitely not the orb. So you can even see, just look at the way Fnatic are playing. All three players sat back as far as possible. They're trying to play off the rifles. They know what's invested into this round, so they're not going to get aggressive. They're not going to do what they've been doing throughout the match so far, pressuring and pushing and facing off against these players. They're waiting for OG to come to them, and that missed jump. Wow. I was going to say it should give Golden the info he needs, but he goes looking for more. This is getting scary once again. The bomb will be planted. The push is coming out. Have left Blusher so low. They're going to pressure him. And now it's just Brolin remaining. This should have been a money-making round. Instead, the youngster has to try and clutch it. Only one rifle retrieved. Most of them don't even have armor, but Mantu lands the headshot anyway. OG win a round that never should have been. Something that we've said about Fnatic all the way through is their ability to steal rounds. Well, this one has been well and truly yoinked.
They can steal rounds, but it seems like they can also throw them away. And what a horrific time, Tom, to do just that. 14-13. I believe they can get a buy looking at their economy somewhat. They'll have to juggle a few weapons, get the accountants on the line, figure out what the best course of action is. It's an AUG, few M4s, MP9, no AWP, which is significant. After losing to 6 Force Buy rounds on Mirage, OG didn't lose a single anti-eco or anti-force on Inferno. That's quite the turnaround. Tightened up indeed. And now they'll have to hope that they can navigate themselves through the very choppy waters of round 28. Fnatic Force Buy, all the chips on the table on our third deciding matchup. NBK straight away smoking the Molotov and forcing his hand into playground, but Fnatic not going too aggressively. It's only really Brolan that's perched up in a fairly aggro position, and that's in connector.
Although that was definitely a blunder for Fnatic, at least it hasn't nailed down this map for their opponent just yet. The AWP's gone, so JW will be stuck on a rifle this time, and the utility is definitely dwindled considering only lost about 45 seconds on this clock, and they're left with just a couple of smokes and a single incendiary. Means we're going to see them start to try and make a few more cheeky plays. Brolin, in fact, in that classic one-and-done spot. As mentioned earlier, it severely relies on a teammate helping you out or, well, something insane, which you can never quite count out with these teams. OG, though, they look to set up for a B take once again. Now, they've had some success over the last 2 rounds, the last one with pistols, in fact, but it's a slightly different setup this time from Fnatic, a more aggressive one at that.
Golden hoping for the Midas touch, but it's only the one. Flusher now stuck behind the incendiary. Caught and clotheslined by MBK. Spray from Crims is good, getting 2 in return. And he can now stand tall with 18 seconds to go. Just needs to keep some presence down. Mantu, while Flash takes him out the equation, leaving the Orpa left standing in amongst the remnants of his teammates. He may be getting flanked. JW's in hot pursuit and puts the bullet between his eyes, but from reverse. And our Fnatic will be defusing the bomb to a 14-14. The economy on OG won't be amazing either. Tom, this game continues to have twists and turns.
It's one of the greatest games for neutrals ever. But if either you're part of one of these organizations, maybe you're an analyst who's predicted one of these organizations, or if you're just a fan of one of these teams, you are probably bricking it. 14-14. Ugh. I feel like F1 drivers have to deal with less twists and turns than this. Well, these are not with a goodbye. Now, we mentioned it when it came to the last map that, or even all the maps, that somehow OG make these rounds work. I think it's because the strat book of Alexi B goes deep. Definitely has a lot of plans when it comes to these rounds. In fact, this is where you sometimes see the more gimmicky strategies from OG. These faster paced rounds that have known to catch Fnatic off guard. Roland, though, he's got to be careful. Banana is slowly falling into the favor. He's signed the flashbang, though. It's everything. But it doesn't quite catch out Mantu. JW, he's got his ult back. He's about to be pressured. He does, however, Vince, have a fair bit of support.
They need this defense to be infallible. They cannot afford any slips. The bomb's gone down first, and it just catapults into the air, landing alongside Issa's double. 2-on-2, 40 seconds. There is a rotation coming into play, which is Crims, who's looking to conjure a bit of carnage on his approach. Flusher keeping the T's busy. Now Crims can activate with the M4 around the back. Alexi, 2 separate angles, and Crims dispatches both of them. It will be another defuse. It will be Fnatic with a match point.
This is one of those rounds where you see the genius of Flusher without him getting a single kill. And if you know in that 2v2 situation, he goes over to the bank, spams some bullets out towards the bomb, and then quickly moves back over onto the stairs side. And just look at where, this is perfect actually from DreamHack. Like, you look at where both of those players are looking. They're like, okay, guys, there's one on stairs and there's one on bank. And Crims in the meantime is just giggling to himself, thinking they have absolutely no idea. Guys, basically what I mentioned earlier, that this has been one of those games. Also, we spoke about this before, how like OG managed to have I think it was 4 players over 25 kills and just scraped through a map. This time, every player on their team is now over 20 kills. That's ridiculous. And imagine if you then lose that game. The only reason that's even a possibility is because, well, as I said, the lowest player is on 17 kills right now. There is not a slacker. There is nobody behind. There is nobody underperforming. There's definitely nobody that has had no impact in this match. And while Fnatic, they may have the map point, they may have the better buy, they may even have some sort of mental advantage. Who knows at this point? But that means nothing of 15-14.
Vastly different obstacle standing between Fnatic and victory. Yesterday, it was a one-man army, the one-man wrecking crew of ZywOo. And today, all of OG stand up against them. Not one player head and shoulders above the rest. All equals. And this game could not have been closer in our decider. All 3 maps have been close. And now JW statistically hasn't necessarily been too hot on Overpass. Has had a lot of impact, and he's been great over the duration of the best of 3. He's still alive, stands up, delivers with 1, goes back in again, missing out, could get punished, but Brolan is there to lend him a helping hand. Will he grab onto it? Not just yet. He's not budging an inch. Now he starts to move away, and he lives, Tom. That is massive. No, he doesn't. Mantu just denies him at the end. Last bullet through the smoke finishes him off.
Brolin taking a risk. Hey, who would have thought of that? Fnatic and risks? Never heard of it. Ooh, I like this, but Brolin's not actually pushing far enough around. Currently just waiting patiently, trying to spot them from behind. The Molotov even going to be holding them in, wasting their time. 20 seconds is all that remains for OG. Maybe all that remains in this map. Crims, he starts it off. He may be blinded, maybe through smoke. It doesn't matter. Fnatic, they've got this done. It's left all on to Man 2. He's praying for a miracle through this smoke. Crims is going for a knife. The sheer audacity of this team, the audacity of Fnatic will continue. They may not call this a rivalry, Vince, but I'm sure that one is building. A 16-14 victory is as close as it gets, and sure, that sends Fnatic straight through to the upper bracket, but holy cow, I hope we get a third rematch. Let's be real, I hope it somehow happens again.
I need a trilogy, Tom. I absolutely need a trilogy. We can't keep it on just this equal. I cannot believe after that Gold and the rest of Fnatic won't sit down and say, do you know what? They have our respect. This is a rivalry. They definitely are at least close to being equal to us, because at no point was that a walk in the park.
Well, we spoke about neither team giving each other a breather. I'm going to be honest, Vince. I'm glad that we have a bit of a break going into the next few days, because I need one. I'm exhausted. The desk, they've still got to break this one down, so make sure you don't go anywhere, because we'll be back after a short break.
The gift that kept on giving. Overpass was the map to wrap up this series here at DreamHack Open Fall. And for Fnatic, it would be sealed in their favor. 16-14 to the Swedes, and a place cemented in the upper bracket of the playoffs. Maniac, I know you hate it when we say this, but again, it was all down to those final few rounds, and it literally could have been anybody's game.
Listen, I feel like I need some more minutes. That break was not long enough for my heart to go back to a normal and healthy heart rate. That was insane. The clutches we've seen, the momentum. We've seen a map that was very brawly, that was momentum-based. We talked about the fact that Overpass was probably at the bottom of the list for those of these teams. And it can go two ways. It's either uninteresting and very one-sided, or it's an absolute boxing match, and that's exactly what we got. I was at the edge of my seat all the time. Being in the green room with Maui when he bet on Fnatic was so entertaining, just as entertaining as the game. He was making noise I've ever heard coming out of a human being. That was so nice.
We should get a camera in the green room, shouldn't we? But just a Maui cam, maybe just a Maui soundboard, who knows? But I'm interested to hear from your perspective, Maui, coming into this. You know, we weren't too familiar with both these teams playing on Overpass. So what were your key takeaways from that Fnatic side, and, you know, how they were able to use that momentum to close it out in the end?
Yeah, I feel like the lack of comfort for both of these teams was a bit apparent, but that just raises the clutch factor. That the fact that both of these teams were unable to sometimes bring together some of those rounds where it's like, okay, everything is going right for them here, but then Flusha bust out the 1v4. These kinds of clutches don't happen if teams are super well versed in how to deal with these different problems, but Flusha, he was able to find the holes. JW, to start that game as well, his rifle work towards A, that's not something you usually talk about, the way he's able to just bust everything open, but the way he defaults and he's so aggressive, it reminds me of 2018, 2017 Fur, actually, the way he's finding every nook and cranny and just like prying around open out of just completely thin air. It's so impressive, and it's a little bit strange because you want to see Fnatic maybe with a more solid game plan, but at the same time, I'm happy because it's entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, it was incredibly entertaining to watch. And I think it's interesting that you're pointing out a few players from that Fnatic side. I know I'm just looking at the scoreboard right now. Maniac, the kill disparity between all of these players, literally everybody was stepping up on both sides of the server. It was incredible to watch.
You're totally right. It was a pure 5v5, no one lacking behind, no one truly caring. I think a name we need to mention is Crims, because I feel like he had the most diversity in his gameplay. He was suffering at the beginning, and he might have been the weaknesses on the B-bomb side early on. But as soon as he found his second breath, as we see right here, that's an example. He had some issues early on, and then he found the solution. He brought in the M4, then the AUG, then he had some rounds where he was coming in from behind, flanking with the AK. So to me, he was the X factor. He was the one that struggled and then rose from the ashes and made the difference for Fnatic.
Yeah, I know you were kind of echoing the same thoughts there, Maui, when we were watching the game, right?
Yeah, the thing with Crims with me is that I've always kind of been so-so on him actually defending the B-bomb site, but when he gets in water, he's an absolute beast. I'm a little bit surprised that Fnatic didn't actually try to take that water control as much this game, but the way that they were defending it, it always felt like either Crims is just going to die and get entry, like he died to a Deagle actually one round, around that OG almost broke the whole game open, but other times when he busted out the AUG or just had a really good lineup, he would find these multi-frags, and I think he had 7 multi-frags that game, so really good stuff from him. It's just living and dying by Crims on that B-bomb site. And thankfully for Fnatic, he came up huge.
Yeah, he did indeed. It was incredibly impressive to see. And speaking of impressive, we have the man himself. Golden is joining us. Is that what that noise always means? Golden, massive congratulations to you after that marathon of a series there. You must be incredibly happy that you're taking the win.
Yeah, extremely happy. That was a long and rough one.
I think we've got a lot of questions for you for this matchup. I want to start on Overpass as it's kind of fresh in our minds. It's not a map that we see you guys, well, you've actually never played OG on Overpass before. What was your approach kind of coming into the game? And did you expect it to be getting that close in the end?
Not really. We expected the aggro pushes they were going to do, but they still caught off guard. They do it, I must say they do it very well, and they seem very determined when they are doing it. So that's a hard push, like when they push, it's very hard to stop it.
I also wanted to just ask.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no,
go ahead.
you go ahead, Maniac. You go ahead.
talk about a rough moment, and I'm going to take you to one of these rough moments. 13-13, you lose the pistol eco round on the B-bomb side. Tell me, what's the feeling at this point? How is the communication? How do you feel, guys? Do you just, bash it away, or are you frustrated? How do you feel?
We knew we weren't frustrated, but we felt the tension. But then we just new round, let's get it going, just focus on the next one. And I think that has been our problem in the previous matches, but now we believe more in the bad situations and coming out of it better. And I feel like we did it pretty darn good.
Yeah, Golden, I had a question about your guys' CT side. I felt like you guys were very complacent with playing on the B-bomb side, but when I've watched you guys before, it felt like maybe earlier this year, you guys were really trying to focus on water control a lot more. Is that a change you guys really went through and talked about, that maybe playing on the bomb side is better, or is this something more specific towards OG?
So how they played on the T side is hard to keep underground control. If you don't have underground, or if we nade up the door every time, it's very hard to have water control. So it makes it even difficult more for us, more angles to look out for. So yeah, we had another counter that is playing, nading up the door and doing something else with it. That's why we didn't take water control as much.
Okay.
I also just wanted to quickly ask, how much has it changed you guys as a team kind of being able to play in a facilities together? Because we checked in with Crims the other day. He was saying, you've been playing together for a few days now. What's it kind of been like building the morale of a team as a whole?
Much better. We feel so much better when we are together, and we play better. We have a lot better communication with each other, saying what we need to work on and such on. It feels like somewhat closest to LAN when we are together on the boot camp.
Well, it's been fantastic to get to hear.
Oh wait, I have one more, if that's okay.
Go for it, Maui. Yeah.
Just so we get a crumb of narrative here, is there any sort? You said before to Frankie that there was no rivalry between you and OG, but these series are going real close. Is there anything developing here?
Yeah, I might have been a bit cocky, but I mean, what am I supposed to say? They played very well. No, hats off to them. I didn't mean anything by it, just saying that. Just cocky,
No, we love to see a good rivalry brewing between you and OG. And again, a fantastic showing from you, Goldo. And of course, we'll be seeing you later in DreamHack Open Fall. But go and enjoy your win for now.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Golden. I think it kind of goes to be said as well, Maniac. We were discussing it earlier. You know, we used to see OG having a little bit of trouble closing things out, but actually we have been quite impressed with what they've seen, what we've seen rather, of them in this series. And, you know, surprisingly pushing Fnatic really to the limit.
Yeah, definitely. Some areas of the game where I would see, say, OG in June completely falter and disappear. I thought they showed resilience. They were able to figure out solutions, also retain their calm at the end of the rounds, which is usually where they were making a lot of mistakes, individuals being a little bit impatient. I think the very illustration of that is the last round of the game where you could see the nerves settling in. They're trying to go for this triple boost, A-long, 25 seconds. We're just watching it like that's done. That is it. There's no chance. But other than that, I think they've shown a great face. This is a OG that is looking upwards, that is looking better and better every series. They push Fnatic against the ropes, and they're going to be dangerous for anyone, absolutely anyone in the playoffs.
What a huge series to be starting off our day here at DreamHack Open Fall. Just a quick update for you guys in the Twitch chat at the moment. We're going to be going offline for a brief few minutes, but make sure you stick around because we're going to be back with our second game of the day after this, and it's going to be an absolute banger. A series to be closing out our day here on the A stream, and this time we're going to be jumping over to Group C. It's going to be FaZe versus Godsent to be closing our day out.